Good evening. I want to welcome all of you that are watching online to our town hall meeting. And I do want to ask your forgiveness for any confusion. For those of you that are at the Blairsville town hall right now, wondering where we are, we originally called this our town hall meetings just in passing, like for that night, and then the name just stuck, and so that became our Blairsville town hall meeting. So if you're in Blairsville watching, going, we wanted to come to the meeting and we're not there, I'm sorry. Our apologies to you, but thanks so much for joining us. I want to say thanks too. We've got some folks from Blairsville, some of our leaders, some different people that are part of our church that are here in the room with us as well. And so we invited them, and again, they're guinea pigs for us to some degree, but some of these folks are part of Blairsville, have invested in Blairsville, and so they're a part of this evening for us, and we're glad to have them. So at the end of our time together tonight, or toward the end, we're going to invite people to ask questions. You can feel free, no matter how you're watching, if you're watching from our online platform or if you're watching from Facebook, you can let us know what your questions are, and I'm going to try to answer as many of them as I can before we actually get to the Q&A portion. So when we get to that, make sure you ask your questions, and we've got a team of people who are going to be asking those questions for you here in the room. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for those of you in the room for being here with us tonight. I really do appreciate it. I'm excited about just sharing some of this stuff with you. This is a really, really, really exciting time to be a part of Summit Church. So I hope you appreciate that and grasp that. So if it's okay, it is okay, because I've got the mic and I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to pray before we get started. So let me pray with us. Lord, thank you so much for what you're doing in and through Summit Church. Thank you that the church isn't just a corporate entity, but God, the church is your people. All of us corporately together are your church. So Lord, I pray you just minister in and through us. God, help us to seize the opportunities that are coming our way. And God, I pray that you would help us see what you are doing in Blairsville. And I pray that you would give us an excitement and enthusiasm about being a part of that. So Lord, I pray that we would stop praying this, bless what we're doing and help us to do what you're blessing. And I pray that, Lord, we would impact Blairsville, that you'd minister there in incredible ways. And God, use us for those ends. So God, have your way with us tonight. Be glorified through our time together. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Well, guys, let me just share, first of all, a verse with you. And this is a verse that goes back to 2015 for us. We did something here at Summit called the Imagine Initiative, and some of you were around for that. Some of you remember that. But there was a verse that we shared that was kind of our key verse for that, and it was this, Ephesians 3:20. It says, "Now all glory to God, who is able, through his mighty power at work within us, to accomplish infinitely more than we ask or think." That God is able to do infinitely more than we ask or imagine, and that's what we're going to show you tonight, is that 2 minutes in, I'm already crying, that God is doing imaginably, incredibly more than we ask or imagine. So, first question is, why Blairsville? Why would we go to Blairsville when people have left Blairsville, some industry has left Blairsville, and I've had a number of people who don't live in Blairsville say, why would you target Blairsville? The first answer is we have a number of people that already come from Blairsville to attend church here. So we've got a vested interest there because of the people that are already there. And there are some great pastors and some great churches in Blairsville who I know and love, and I appreciate them. But very few churches in Blairsville are actually growing. So the demographics say that there are still lots of lost people in Blairsville who are not being reached. And so we're not going to replace churches, but we're going to partner with those churches. We're not going because there are no good churches in Blairsville. We're going to partner with good churches in Blairsville. And so that's what we're going to be attempting to do. When you look at just some economics, the median income in Blairsville is $31,000, and it's about half of the state average of $59,000. And so there is economic need in Blairsville. Also, we see that 16% of all children in Blairsville live below the poverty line. So we feel like there are lots of opportunities for us to go in and fill some of the needs and fill the gaps that are resident and present in Blairsville. So you may have heard us use the phrase multi-site. And for some of you, that might be a new phrase. And so let me just explain. As Summit expands and we add a location in Blairsville, we are becoming a multi-site church. And what that means very basically is that we will be one church in multiple locations, that we're going to be one church. We're going to have the same vision, the same budget, the same leadership, but we're just going to have different locations. We have 2 Saturday night services and 2 Sunday morning services, and we understand that they are the same church. Even though they meet at different times, they have different people that attend those services. They just happen to be in the same building. So this is going to be the same thing. It's the same church, just it happens to be in a different town. So those common threads link us together. It's the vision, the budget, and the leadership. Another question you might be asking is, why would people want to go to a church like that? Why would people who live in Blairsville or Salzburg or Ligonier or Derry choose to go there instead of just coming here? And the reality is, number one, most of the people aren't driving that far to come to Summit Church. Even though they might need a great church, they don't want to make the drive. And so what we see is that statistically, most people, when you ask them what they want in a church, they're going to say, we want great preaching, we want great worship, we want good kids ministry, we want great women's ministry. They want everything. And what they describe is a megachurch. They describe a church of 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000. But then you ask them, what kind of church do you want to attend as far as size? They're going to say, well, I want to know everybody. I want everybody to know everybody. I want there to be intimacy. I want there to be a church of 200. That's the magic number for most people when they are asked about their ideal number. And so what we can do with multi-site is we can leverage the excellence, the stuff we do that people like, while getting into a smaller environment. So as we're going to see in just a moment, the auditorium that we're planning on constructing in Blairsville seats about 200. And so it's going to be a much more intimate feel than it is here. So you're going to have high quality kids ministry, youth ministry, women's ministry, all the things that you expect when you come to church here, but you're going to have a much smaller, intimate feel in Blairsville. Another question is, why would this make sense for Summit? Why would we do this? And there's a lot of reasons why. So when you look at multi-site churches, they tend to reach and baptize more people than single-site churches. So it's going to help us reach people that we wouldn't normally reach if we were simply in Indiana. So because we're going to be in Blairsville as well, there's a whole group of people that are never going to make the drive here. So in fact, many of you in the room and some of you that are watching online from Blairsville, I've asked you this question. Have you ever asked someone to come to church with you and they said, yeah, that sounds great. Where's it at? And you said, Indiana. And then they went, oh, no, I don't think so. And the answer for most people is yes. That you said, man, I've got a great church. You should come with me. Okay, cool. Where's it at? Indiana. Because they feel like it's a long way. But what if instead of bringing people to our church, we brought the church to them? And that's what multi-site really is about. We want to spread healthy churches to more diverse communities. And we feel like when we get to Blairsville, it's going to help other churches get healthier as well. Multi-site churches tend to have more volunteers in service as a percentage than single-site churches, because a lot of times when people walk in the doors here, they go, oh, Summit, look at this place. They've got everything. They don't need my help, so I can just attend. But in a smaller environment, people understand, man, they need me. And so what it does is it creates opportunities for people to serve that wouldn't normally serve in a larger environment. Another thing is this, just the economics of it. When we built our kids and youth wing back in 2015, we started the project, the Imagine Initiative. That was a project that cost us about $4 million to add this. And one of the things we looked at was, hey, what if instead of doing that, what if we built another auditorium? So what if we built a 1,300-seat auditorium instead of building kids and youth space? What would that look like? And what if we turned this into kids and youth space and then built something else? And the answer we got was it would cost us over $8 million to build a 1,300-seat auditorium. So for us, when we looked at the economics, we just said, this doesn't make sense for us to do that. We don't want to go in debt forever to build this. So why don't we do more with the space we've got? Why don't we build smaller and just have more services? And so this lends itself to multi-site for us, because we could build a bigger auditorium here and invite more people to come, but you're going to see in just a little bit, it doesn't make economic sense for us to build a bigger church to try to get more people from further away to come to our church. What makes sense is for us to say, hey, we're going to go to where they are and use the resources that are available then. So So what we look at is this idea with multi-site that we have to embrace and. We're asking people to just understand this is and. It's not one or the other. So let me give you an example. We can grow larger and smaller if we do multi-site. So we're going to add a location, and some people from here are going to go down there, but it's going to be a net win for the kingdom. Our church will get bigger. We're going to reach more people, but it's going to feel more intimate in Blairsville because there are not as many people there. It's going to be brand new and a trusted brand. And I hate to call the church a brand, but let's be honest. If you've got a Summit sticker on your car, people recognize what that is. If somebody asks you where do you go to church and you say Summit, they recognize that a lot of times in this area. So the great thing is we get to start a brand new church, but it's a church that people trust. So there are people in Blairsville who are going to attend because they know somebody who goes to Summit already. They already trust who we are because of what they've heard. We get to move there and stay here. We don't have to say we're closing down shop and we're going to go reach Blairsville. We get to stay here and go reach Blairsville. We feel like there's more opportunities and more support. We feel like there's more outreach and more maturity. So we're going to develop people, we're going to disciple people, and we're going to reach more people. At the end of the day, we're going to be fruitful and multiply. So our vision is to see every life made different, and we feel like this is an opportunity to see every life made different, not just in Indiana, but in Blairsville as well. So that's what our goal is. So when we talk about multi-site, there's been a lot of questions as we've talked about it. What is it going to look like? What's it going to be? So let me just explain what a service might look like. A service in Blairsville is going to look very similar to what we do here in Indiana. We're going to have people at the doors when you walk in. A lot of them you're going to recognize from here in Indiana because some of our ushers and greeters are just simply going to move down there and help us and be a part because that's where they're at. So you're going to recognize people as you come through the doors. You're going to recognize staff because some of our staff is going to be down there rotating through on a regular basis. So if you see some of our staff on stage here, you're going to see them on staff in Blairsville as well. We're going to be rotating through at different times. You're going to have live worship. The worship team you love here, a lot of them will be part of the worship team in Blairsville. We also are very fortunate to have some musicians in Blairsville who have said, hey, I've wanted to be part of the worship team, but I haven't been able to just because of the drive and the commitment. And so I'm excited about being part of the team in Blairsville. And so we're going to have some new members as part of the team there, but fully expect to see Pastor Todd and Kendall and some of our other worship leaders as on stage down there leading worship from time to time. So you're going to see familiar faces on stage. We're going to have hosts on stage. So when someone comes up to greet you after the first song and they come up at the end of worship to talk to you about our giving generosity moment, that's still going to be the case in Blairsville. The one thing that's going to change though is instead of seeing me come up and greet you there, that's when we will go to a video of the preaching here. So literally our host will say, close out the moment, and they're going to say, hey man, we're in part 2 of our series. We're so excited. Pastor Mel's got a word for you today, and da-da-da, and they're going to introduce it. Lights come down, video comes up, and it's me. And I'm going to say something like, hey, it's so good to see you today. I want to welcome all of our friends in Blairsville at our Blairsville location. We love you guys. We're so glad to see you. Thank you for joining us today. And then we'll get right into the message. And I'm going to preach, and at the end of the message, we'll come to a portion where I normally would say, why don't you bow your head and close your eyes? And that's when I'm going to look at the camera and I'm going to say, hey, for those of you that are watching in Blairsville, I just want you to know I love you. I'm talking to the people in Blairsville. I'm getting teared up right now. Guys, I love you. I'm so excited for what God's doing in your life. And I want to turn it over to our host in Blairsville right now, Pastor Kim or Steph or whoever it is. They're going to close out this final moment with you and finish up this message. And then the video will end. The host will be standing there, and they're going to give the invitation. And they're going to welcome you to accept Jesus into your heart, and then they're going to close out the service. So what you're going to see is something very similar to what you'd see here. Now, we're going to start with video teaching, and we're going to wean off video teaching in time, where eventually we'll have live preachers in the room doing the communication. So in a nutshell, that's what it'll look like. That's what it'll be as far as the service goes. So the good thing about this is it keeps the vision and message clear. You don't have multiple communicators that are sharing slightly different things. You've got me, whether it's good, whether you like that or not, you're stuck with me, and you're going to hear my message from here in Indiana. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what it looks like as far as the service goes. Another question is, where will it be? We've answered that. If you live in Blairsville, you've probably driven by the location. Where will it be is at 34 and 40 East Market Street. So we've purchased 2 buildings, and I want to put the picture up right now. Well, it's actually that building. But go ahead and show the first slide, guys. Oh, yeah, let's start here. I got a laser pointer. So I want you to see this. Those of you that are watching online, you can't see my laser pointer. This is Market Street at the top of the screen here. This is Walnut here. Post office is here on the left. United Methodist Church is here on the left. This corridor right in the middle is Iron Alley. So what we purchased as a church are these 2 properties, this building here, This is the old Cavalancia building, and we purchased this building here, which is the old PNC Bank building. Along with that, we also purchased this lot on the left. Now, this is an old picture. This building has been demolished, and now it's just an empty green space. And we signed the sales agreement this week on this building, on this lot, and we're going to purchase that lot and put parking in there. In addition to that, we also acquired this property at the bottom, which is the parking lot that goes with the bank. So in total, we got this, that, and this property here. Now, I know some of you might be asking, what are you going to do with the bank parking property? At this point, we're going to add parking so that we can have our volunteers, we can have our leaders, our staff can park in this parking lot and come in the building. This lot will be for people who are just attending. They'll park here, walk down the front, and come in the main building. And then we'll have all the on-street parking on Market Street on the weekends. We'll be able to use all of that for our purposes. So we're going to have ample parking, and it's going to be very convenient. Just for point of reference, this is Market Street Pastries. So I know some of you don't care about anything else other than the fact that we are next door to Market Street Pastries, and we've got a great relationship with them already. I'll tell you guys, they're looking at expanding their hours for us. They're going to open. It looks like they're going to open up on Sundays to facilitate our church. So what that means is we're helping a business in our community, and we're blessing them, and it's going to keep us from having to have a cafe in our lobby. So we're just going to say, hey, if you want a pastry before church, go get one at Market Street Pastries. Partner with them. Let's bless our community. So that is what it looks like in a nutshell. So these are the two main buildings here. Go ahead and go to the exterior, the street view, guys. So these are the two buildings. You've probably, if you live in Blairsville, you've driven by these buildings a dozen times, 1,000, a million times. I will acknowledge from the start, they look like they're from two different eras. We understand that, and we're going to work to make sure they look more coherent together. So go ahead and go to the next one. Just to give you a different angle, I want to show you a picture of Sheets. This is from the front door. So if you're not sure where it's at, it literally is across the street from Sheets at the corner of Walnut and Market. And let me tell you this about that corner too. You can go to the next slide if you want to, guys. That corner at Walnut and Market, you might not think much about Blairsville as far as traffic goes, but just give you a frame of reference. 4,000 cars a day drive by the Summit Church in Indiana, Pennsylvania. 4,000 cars a day drive by our current location. 7,800 cars a day drive through the intersection at Market and Walnut Street. So almost twice as many people drive by that location every single day. Now, I know 8,000 people don't live in Blairsville, but what that says to me is there are going to be about 8,000 people per day who might see our church. We've got the opportunity to influence that many people. And I'm not saying this lightly. I truly believe at some point, our Blairsville location could exceed the attendance of our Indiana location. And that's not something that scares me at all. That's something that's exciting to me, because what that means is we're reaching lost people for Jesus Christ. And initially, when we first started talking through some of this stuff, I had one of our leaders say, well, Pastor, we don't want that to get bigger than us. And I said, well, how come? And he said, well, that just doesn't seem right. And I said, well, do you want your kids to be less successful than you? He said, no. And I said, do you want them to live in a smaller house than you? He said, no. I was like, okay. Why would we want a church that we start to be less successful than us? That just seems wrong. And so he agreed and said, yeah, you're right, I agree. And so that's my dream, is that church will grow and thrive and plant other churches and start new works. And I believe that's going to be the case. Let me move on before I cry all over my iPad. Let's show can we show the back view, guys? The back parking lot. Okay, yeah, we'll go here. So this is the grass lot that we're purchasing that's 2 doors down. This is the front view. Go to the back view of that one. And so this is looking out. You'll see exactly where our parking lot is in regards to Sheets. So literally it's 2 doors down from our location where you're going to be going. Let's go to the next slide. So this is the back parking lot. We cropped this. There it is. So that was a look at a Nissan Versa, apparently. Anyway, so this is a view of the back parking lot. And I want you to see, like that pavilion, or that it's not a pavilion now, that drive-through is pretty cool. Like it is well constructed, and I can't make any promises what we're gonna do with it, but it gives us a ton of potential. We are going to leave it, and we're not gonna do anything with it right now. Right now it's gonna be parking and storage, and one of our staff, Diane Clugston, who is supposed to be watching online, Diane said she wants to make that her office, because she lives in Blairsville. It'll be a much shorter commute. I don't think it'll be her office, but honestly, guys, I could see us at some point saying, hey, we're gonna tear the building out, and we're just gonna flatten that area underneath the pavilion and just make a great space for our community to use that, to have picnic tables and different things for people to be able to use right in the area. And if you look around, you can see all the houses in that area. This location is prime because it's so walkable. So many people can walk to this spot. So I'm really excited about this. And I was excited about taking this picture too, because I got up on the roof of the PNC building, like I crawled up through the hatch. I felt like it was a major adventure. It really wasn't that big a deal though. But yeah, you can see there's a number of spots. So we're going to reconfigure this lot, and we think we can get about 30 cars in there on a weekend. And again, that's going to be primarily for leaders, for staff, because they're going to be coming in the back way of the church. So let me go to the next question. What is this going to look like as far as youth and kids? The things you love about Summit Youth and Kids here, we're going to have down there. Pastor Christina is going to have a great team down there. It's going to look very similar to what it does here. The classrooms will be broken up a little differently because of space limitations, and quite honestly, we're just going to have fewer people at that location. And so it's not going to be as specialized as far as individual classes, but we're still going to have age-appropriate teaching, and it's all going to be the stuff you know here. If you like Orange and what we do here, you're going to love what we do down there as well. Same thing for Summit Youth. Pastor Ricky is already working on a plan as far as how are we going to do youth ministry in Blairsville. What is that going to look like? And so I'm excited about that. We'll be doing a youth service down there, and we might start a little more sporadically, like maybe once a month starting off, and then gearing up and ramping that up. But we're going to be doing Summit Youth in Blairsville as well. Let's show some of the interior shots, guys. Is that the next slide? We're efforting right now. Pro presenter froze. So I'm just going to describe to you. I want you to close your eyes. I'm just kidding. We'll get to those in a minute. You know what? But go ahead and leave that, Kendall. Before we get to the next part, let me share this timeline with you. So the very first time I interviewed with Summit Church in 2013, I talked to this group of guys on a Skype call from Indiana, Pennsylvania. I was living in Oklahoma City, and they started asking me, what are the things you're passionate about? What are some things you would want to do? And one of the things I said is, because I knew this town already. I'd studied, and I felt like there was potential to do multi-site churches all in these small rural towns around us. And I said, I think there's potential to start other locations from Summit Church. And at that time, our church was about 500, and the guys were just looking for a pastor. They weren't looking to start some other churches. And I feel like they all kind of went, okay, all right, we'll see. But after I came on, I continued to talk about, hey, we're going to be starting other churches someday. We're going to start other locations. We're going to be planting. We're going to be doing other stuff. And we've been talking about it from 2013, 2014. It was part of our vision for 2015. I expected us to have something in 2017. And to be perfectly honest with you, it was a good thing we didn't, because the building cost us more than we thought it would. And so I felt guilty about the delay. I felt like, man, I'm kind of failing here. And fast forward to February of 2019. February of 2019, I'd been praying, and I read a passage of scripture, and I'm not going to go into the whole story. You can go back to that. Thank you. I'll get back into the slides in just a second. So you can go back and listen to the message. The message where I talk about that specifically, it was in a series called Next from October 2019. So in February of 2019, I went to our board, and I just said, guys, I have this deep conviction in my heart that I have been a bad steward of our church. Like, God is asking us to do more, and I've been afraid, I've been complacent, and I feel like God is asking us to step up our game. God is asking us to step into this and start planting. and started another location. And the guys prayed about it. We came back together and said, okay, yeah, let's do this. We felt a unison in that, a unity in that, and we began to move forward in October. I launched this publicly with the church. We talked about it publicly. When I did, some of the people, even in this room, pumped their fists as I shared the vision that we're going to start a location in Blairsville. And the ball was rolling. At that point, we had a building that I felt like was a slam dunk, no problem. And at that point, I felt like, hey, there's a chance we could be in this early 2020. Like, yeah, we got this. And Craig Imfield, who's our facility director and is running this project for us, is a hero. And he also keeps me in line sometimes when I'm like, we can be in that in 3 months, can't we? And he just gets this look on his face like, no, we cannot. And so that first building we looked at, I was like, yes, this is it. It's God's will. And we got in it and we looked around. It seemed perfect. And then we ran some tests and looked at some costs. And it was like, nope, this isn't right. It was like, oh. We looked at another building. It was like, this is it. This has got to be God's will. It was like, nope, this isn't it either. Oh. And we went through this several times, this roller coaster ride. We finally looked at a building that I talked to the church about. It's the G.L. Roth building. It's right next to the high school football field. And it's about 17,000 square feet. And we got into a bidding war on it. There literally someone else looked at it the day after we did, and they put a cash offer in, we put a cash offer in, and we got into a bidding war. And we were outbid. We offered $190,000 cash for this building, and they turned it down and went with the other offer. And at this point, I'll be honest with you, I said to our church, guys, God closes the door, he's gonna open a better door. God's got this. And in my heart, I was thinking, God, do you got this? God, I'm telling everybody that you got this, but do you? Because I'm not sure you do, because I don't know that we have any other options. And at that point, it was right after this that my dad passed away, and I was coming back from that. I took about a month off, and I was coming back from that, and I called Craig, and I said, hey, Craig, let's go look at the Cavalancia building again. And it's not perfect. It's probably not the right fit, but let's just see. And by the way, Jeff Cavalancia is a wonderful man. He was so easy to work with, and even if you don't need orthodontics, go get braces just to bless him. But I love Jeff, and he was so easy to work with and so simple, and just, yeah, he worked with us. And I want you to know, we paid $50,000 for that building in Blairsville. And that was worth celebrating. I was excited. I was pumped. Okay, we got this. And we can make this work. And on the first floor, we can do this. On the second floor, we're gonna maybe put kids in the basement, and we'll figure this out. And we were standing outside. Craig and I were standing outside the Cavalancia building after we knew we were going to buy it. I don't think we had closed on it yet, but we were outside looking at it. And I said, what do you think about this bank building? And he said, I don't know, man, I like it. I don't know, maybe, I don't know. What do you think about checking? Oh, I don't know. And me being a man that was full of faith, I said, it's probably out of our price range. Might as well try. Let's check it out. So I called the realtor who was listed and just fished around a little bit. And he made it clear, I think, and you can correct me, Craig, was the asking price at that point $250? $225. So the asking price at that point was $225,000. So let me put this in perspective for you. The people that owned the building had bought it for $650,000 6 years earlier. PNC Bank had vacated it, so they didn't have a lease-e for it, and now they just had an empty building. They paid $650 for it, and now in 2020, they're asking $225 for it. And I thought, well, we can't pay $225, but who knows? So I called and I fished around, and I said, I think we can get it for a lot less than $225. So I don't even know if I should tell this should I tell this whole story? I'm going to tell this whole story. So one of our former board members who's still an important part of our church, Jonathan Mack, I love John and I appreciate him. He's been a part of our church for a long time. So John, I called him, and he's this guy. He negotiates. His spiritual gift is negotiation, okay? He's an attorney, and I called him and I said, hey, John, how about if you help us negotiate on this building? And he said, okay, tell me about it. And I told him, and I said, I think we can get it for $100,000. And I said, sick him, basically. Cut him loose. John checks it out. He does some inspection. He calls me back and he said, hey, I think I want to offer him $25,000 for the building. I go, John, they're asking $225,000. And he was like, I know. Do you trust me? I don't know that I do. I'm not sure, actually, if I trust you. I said, I don't want to lose this building. Because I said, John, we will pay more for it. It's worth it. He said, now, if you trust me, let me offer 25. I go, okay. I'm like, click. And I was like, oh, no. It wasn't too much later, John called me back, and he said, they're not going to go for 25. And I was like, I didn't think they would. And he said, but Mel, I'll tell you what, I think we can get it for 50. Like, okay, John, we'll see, tone it back down a little bit. We'll pay more than that if we have to. So I want you to know something, guys. The building that I'm going to show you the interiors of, this is rough like as it looks right now. We ended up paying $50,000 cash for the bank building. This is the same building that these people purchased for $650,000 6 years earlier. Now, we're getting it for $50,000 in a terrible climate, a financial climate, terrible market. It's almost as if God knew what he was doing. So let me break this down for you even further. We were standing in the bank building, in the lobby, what's going to be our auditorium. And one of our staff said, when did they buy this building? I said, 6 years ago. And they said, when did you start talking about multi-site with the church? I went, 6 years ago. I'm telling you guys, I think God knew in 2014, I'm going to have this multinational corporation who buys buildings and their landlord, I'm going to have them buy this building for $650,000. And I'm going to let them sit on it for years until my people in Indiana are ready to make this purchase. I'm going to set it aside for them because I've got a purpose for this building that's so much more than to be a financial center. It's to be a spiritual center in Blairsville, Pennsylvania, where people have been cashing in checks and redeeming bonds, all the different things they do financially. Now they're going to come in and they're going to experience Jesus Christ and their lives are going to be changed. I'm telling you, it is incredible that we got this building for $50,000 because the parking lot alone is probably worth well north of $50,000. It's a miracle. So we got both of these buildings, 10,000 square feet of usable space on the main floor for $100,000. You can't buy a house for $100,000, right? I mean, you can, but not 10,000 square feet. So in addition, we're buying the parking lot, buying the grass lot, all these things. God just brought it together. He's orchestrated it. So with all that said, I want to show you the floor plan. No. Let's not show the floor plan. We're showing the interiors. So let's go back to the interiors of the building, guys. This is on the second floor of the Cavalancia building, looking out over Market Street. So you can see that's Sheets just to the left there as you look through the windows. There's 2 rooms like this on the second floor of the Cavalancia building. It used to be an apartment. We're not going to do anything with that initially in our phase 1, but we're going to be able to use that for just workspace for our staff if they're down there. It's just a good, bright space. So we've got a couple rooms like that there on the second floor. Let's go to the next slide. This is the kitchen, and that one of the rooms is just there on the right side. So there's a kitchen there as well, so we could use that as a break room or something like that if we wanted to. Again, you can see the condition. It's not brand new, but we're not going to touch it yet. We don't need to at this point. So go ahead and go to the next slide, guys. This is the basement of the Cavalancia building, and you can see this is rough. This needs work. Now, our original plan was we're going to renovate this space and make it kid space. And you can tell by looking at it. That's water in there. There's some moisture. It smells funky in there. Kid spaces smell funky anyway, but they're not supposed to smell that funky. But it would have cost us more than $50,000 to remediate this space to get it usable for kids. And instead of doing that, God said, no, I'm going to give you another building right next door. But this space is going to be fantastic long term because what my vision is to say, hey, we're going to take all this square footage under this one building, and it's got a door that leads right out onto Iron Alley. So it's very accessible to the public. So we're going to use this space and make it an outreach center. We're going to be able to do after-school programs, feeding programs, different things like that, practical ministry from the basement of this Cavalancia building. And there's lots of square footage in there for us to subdivide it and make space and do some really cool things. So I'm excited about this possibility. And this is going to be a little bit down the road. And when I say a little bit, I don't mean like 10 years. This could be maybe 2021. We might be able to make this conversion depending on the finances. So let's go to the next slide, guys. This is the lobby of the bank. I'm not giving you a whole bunch of pictures of the bank at this point, and I'm definitely not of the Cavalancia building because it's all divided up, it's offices. But this is what's eventually going to be the auditorium of Summit Church, Blairsville. This is looking at the main doors on Market Street. What the plan is, and you'll see this on the floor plan we're going to show you in just a moment. The plan is that we're taking a picture from the back of the room toward the stage. So it's going to be a narrow room with a stage at the end. Obviously, we're not going to keep any of the furnishings in there. All those workstations on the right, they have safes at every workstation. So we're going to have a sale there at some point where we're selling some safes. We're selling some dentist chairs. If you need a dentist chair, we got you some dentist chairs. So we got dentist chairs. We got all kinds of stuff that we're going to be selling. We're going to let you know about that if you want to come over and make some purchases. That's right. All the equipment still works. The pneumatic tube, the vacuum tube for the... So half of our staff wants to go in and just play. Like, hey, let's send stuff through. We thought about doing drive-through communion during COVID. Like, here's your communion, shook, it just goes through. Just put your mouth by there. So yeah, this is so cool. The geeky side of me, I geek out with this. So this is the vault, and the vault is going to stay. So this is going to be in our auditorium at the back of the auditorium. It's, 18-inch poured concrete walls with it's steel reinforced. So we could take that out, but it would probably cost us more in manual labor to get it out than the whole building cost in the first place. So we're going to leave it at this point. But I just love the vault. It looks really cool. If you go in, and I don't think we had a picture of this, but all the safe deposit boxes are still there with the keys. I mean, it is just cool. There's some other aspects of the building that I'm not showing you tonight. We're going to save it for later that are just cool. It's some exciting things. Go to the next slide. There we go. So this is going to be our kids' auditorium. We're not going to change. We're going to change the room cosmetically. We're not having to tear down any walls in here or anything like that. This is a good-sized space. It's actually behind the vault in the bank building, but it's going to tie in, as you'll see in a minute. It's going to tie in with the Cavalancia building. So just so you know, we're going to have over 3,000 square feet of kids space in this building. About a third of our building will be dedicated for kids ministry, kids below fifth grade and under. So this will be the kids auditorium, and we'll figure out layouts and all that kind of stuff. This is a picture of the ceiling in the lobby. So what you'll see here is it's a drop ceiling that was put in. But what we're going to do is tear the whole ceiling out, and we're going to take it up as high as we can and paint it black. So it's going to look like the ceiling in our youth auditorium. So if you've been in our youth auditorium before, it's just blacked out ceiling. You see all the ductwork, mechanical stuff, all that kind of stuff. So it's just going to be blacked out ceiling. So the ceiling will go up. It's going to have a nice big feel in the room. Do we have any other pictures there, guys? Nope, that's it. All right. So that is the way the building looks right now today. So we haven't taken a sledgehammer to it. We haven't started demo, anything like that. We're waiting on some permits. And we'll get to timelines in just a second. But let me show you the floor plan as it looks like will be constructed. Go ahead and go to that, guys. So this is very washed out. You can't see this real well. We're going to work with you, though. So this is going to be the main entry. So this is Market Street here. So this is Market Street. This is the Cavalancia building, and this is the bank building. So what you'll see is we'll have two double doors here as you come in the main lobby. You'll come in here. On your left, you'll see bathrooms. If you look straight ahead, you'll see kids check in. And on the right, you'll see auditorium entrances. So as soon as you come in the main doors in the lobby, you'll have a nice sized lobby, and you'll be able to see all the stuff that you would need to do. From the lobby, you'll have restrooms here. This will be the stairs going upstairs. That's going to be closed off since it's not going to be normally used. If you've got kids, you'll head back this area. You can get your kids checked in, take them back. Here we have the different kids' classrooms, toddler, pre-K, nursing mom's room will be here off of the auditorium. We'll have a nursery a big resource room for those of you that help with kids and serving kids. You know how important that is. And then we'll have 2 classrooms for elementary kids. And they are slightly different sizes, but that will help us facilitate the different size groups. And then we've got, this is our large our auditorium for the kids. So this is where they'll do corporate worship, things like that. We can even use this room as one of our classrooms if necessary. So we could keep a larger group in here if we needed to and split off from these 2. So we've got a ton of space back here for kids. There's a Jack and Jill bathroom here for pre-K and toddler, so the kids never have to leave the room. They'll be able to go right in there, just like we have here at Summit. There's a restroom here as well for the kids that are going to be in these 2 classrooms, so they can use that. So here's the multi-purpose room. This is our large classroom. This is the vault here. That's why it's all X'd off. We can't do a whole lot with that. So that is the main portion. And here's the auditorium. So you'll come in this door. This door will be primarily for exit only because we don't want people coming in during the service. So at the end of service, both these doors will be open. People can exit through there. This will be a 200-seat auditorium. Stage here. The windows here will be blacked out so that there won't be any light coming through. Let's go ahead and go to the breakdown version, guys, of each space. There we go. So this is, again, a close-up view of the lobby. So we can envision in the lobby maybe an info center here, some stuff on the wall. If you haven't seen yet, we've just done this, but in our lobby out in the east side, we've got a new missions wall that we're finishing up. Make sure you check that out at some point, but we're thinking about maybe putting a missions wall up here to match what we have here. So good-sized lobby space. Ladies, I want you to notice this. We've got 2 sinks in the women's restroom, then 1, 2, 3, oh no, that's the men's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 toilets in the women's restroom. Come on, somebody say amen. By the way, Craig and I are the ones who laid this out, and we were like, they've only got 4 toilets. Let's do more. Let's do 5. You know what? Let's do 6. Let's do 6 toilets. No waiting in our women's restrooms, baby. Everybody gets, you get a toilet, you get a toilet. So when you come back this way, this is where the kids check-in area will be. Go ahead and go to the next slide, guys. This is our auditorium. So come in through here. Seating, you can see it's a little narrower, but again, 200 seats. We'll have a sound booth in the back. This will be an emergency exit here. This will take you downstairs and out the back door. That'll exit onto Iron Alley. So right now, that door won't normally be used except in emergencies, but you could also cut through there into the large kids' classroom. And do we have the kids' wing blown up, guys? There it is. So you can see here, that is the auditorium entrance there, the back auditorium entrance. Kids check-in will be right here on this wall, probably. Maybe on this wall, we'll have to talk about that. And I want you to notice this too. We've got one classroom for adults, and it's at the bottom of your screen here. This is where we're going to do things like growth track or starting point, things like that during the service. So that will be right here, just off of the auditorium. Back this way is where you get into all the classrooms, as I described earlier. Is there any other slides, or is that it, guys? There it is. So this is the back part of that kids' wing then. Again, here's the vault. Here's emergency exit, storage, restroom here. Large multi-purpose kids' auditorium here. So we feel like we've got a really good plan as far as this goes. Is there any others, or is that it? I've forgotten. That's it. We feel good about the plan we have. We feel good about the layout. We feel good about the needs that it addresses for us because we told them we basically need lobby, auditorium, kids space. Those are our big needs. So one of your questions may be, what are we doing about youth? The youth ministry, when they meet, will meet in the auditorium. So they'll just meet in the auditorium and use that as their worship space. So we don't need to build specific youth ministry space. Let me anticipate another question you might ask. When? Is anybody wondering that? When are we getting into this thing? Well, I'm glad you asked. I don't know. We'll see. No, I'm just kidding. At this point, we want to, I promise you when I say this, no one in our church wants us to get into this building more than I or Craig do. We're ready right now to be in this building. But because of just timelines and approval processes and things like that, and just how long it's going to take to do the build out, the demo and the build out, we are looking at a late November launch. So what will probably happen is toward the end of November, we will do some soft launches where we'll invite the core team, we'll invite the people who are going to be serving and part of our dream team there, leaders, part of ministries down there. We'll invite them to be part of the services initially, so that we can get the systems down and make sure everything works correctly. And we'll do that for at least a few weeks. And then we may do a soft launch, not a public launch, but a soft launch where maybe you start inviting your friends to come and be a part. And then the thought is, if the timeline works, we will do a full grand opening right around Christmas. So maybe the Christmas season would be a big welcome to Blairsville for us. And so that's kind of what we're thinking at this point. But again, a lot of this is dependent on things that we can't control. So there's some things that are out of our control on this, but that's what we're looking at and that's what we're planning at this point. So with all that said, I want to get to some of your questions. So just so you know, those of you that are in the room, I've got a mic here in the front of the room. If you've got a question, feel free to come to the front. And if there's somebody there already, give them a chance to get out of the way, because I know some of you don't care at all about social distancing, and I'm okay with that. But the person that's at the mic might not want you breathing on their neck. So give them a break and let them clear out before you come to ask questions. We've also got questions from people online. If you're watching on Facebook or you're watching from our online platform, feel free, type in your questions, let us know, and our team will ask those questions for you. So, questions, feel free, come on up. Do we have any online yet, guys? Have I been so thorough that I've answered every question possible to man? We've got a question online. Pastor Christina Butterworth is going to ask a question for someone. Pastor Christina.
Thank you, Pastor Mel. Rachel asked online who the pastor of Blairsville is going to be.
Yeah, that's a great question. So as of right now, what we're planning to do is we're going to pastor Blairsville from here. So we're still going to take care of the people in Blairsville from here. We're going to have staff down there during the week. It won't be all week long, but we'll have days of the week that we'll be in Blairsville to take appointments and meet with people. And right now, we don't have a specific campus pastor for Blairsville. And so our hope is that we will raise someone up and develop someone within our organization that can be down there long term. So for now, we're going to just fold them in where they're just part of Summit. So we're not going to have somebody specifically for that role initially. Long term, we will be hiring staff down there, full-time, at least a part-time kids pastor, probably somebody on worship to do something. So we're going to have staff there just like we do here, but initially we didn't feel like we needed to do that. We felt like that was an expenditure that we could do without in the short term.
The Dokes are asking initially still just one service?
Yes. I say that reluctantly because I think we're going to need more sooner rather than later. I don't think one service will probably suffice for long, but that's the plan as of right now. So we're going to be prepared to go to 2 services pretty quickly. And depending on what it looks like leading up, we may launch with 2, but initially at least I think we're going to try to do 1. Good question, Dokes. Kim. Is your mic off?
But someone is asking if there will be an on-site Meadows.
On-site Meadows. We're working on that. I bet if I talked to Joe from the Meadows, he would help facilitate something.
And then I have a real question. That was from Colin.
That was from who?
By the way, Colin McKnight.
Oh, Colin McKnight. There you go.
John
Thanks, Colin.
Blair is asking, will there be live worship or will this be telecasted?
Nope. Everything will be live besides the preaching. So the only thing that won't be live in the room is the message. And this is the thing, guys. I know all of us are sick of church online. No one more than me. I'm sick of church online. But I think what we miss about meeting together is not seeing me in person. It's seeing people in person. And so I think one of the things we've learned is, hey, you can still get something out of a message that's videoed in, but as long as you've got relationships, because I didn't miss preaching in the room as much as I missed worshiping in the room. I missed being in the room with people, hearing voices, hearing the music, feeling the Spirit among us. And so yeah, it's going to be video teaching, but everything else will be live there. Katie.
Yes, thank you. Michael from Facebook would like to know.
Michael from Facebook. Michael from Facebook. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen Michael from Facebook in forever.
Are the services the same times as they are in Indiana?
What we'll probably do, it depends on how many. So if we only do one service, it'll probably be like a 10 a.m. service, something like that, because 10 is kind of the magic number for churches. The closer you can get to the 10 o'clock hour, the better attendance is typically. And that's why here in Indiana, we split it between 9 and 11, then it distributes it a little more evenly. If we did 2 services in Blairsville, we'll probably keep the same service times at 9 and 11. Let me anticipate a question too, because somebody is going to ask, probably Sherry McClure. Sherry McClure, I love you. And you're probably going to ask, are we doing Saturday night services in Blairsville? And the answer is not initially, but we're very open to that long term. So we feel like most people don't want to go to church on Saturday night, and that's evidenced by our Saturday night attendance versus our Sunday morning. But we also acknowledge that's a real need, and as soon as we can facilitate a Saturday night service, we want to do a Saturday night service there. All of a sudden, we have 3 services in Blairsville already, so don't worry. We're starting with 1, we'll work our way up. Steph.
Will there be baptisms done at the site?
Yes, there will. So again, we're not going to do video baptisms from here down there. We're going to have a baptismal tank there. We're going to have people live baptisms in service. So if you love baptisms here at Summit, which you should because they're incredible, they're going to feel the same in Blairsville. Again, one of the differences might be volume, just because on a weekend before the shutdown, we were between 1,400 and 1,500 here. And in Blairsville, we're expecting initially to be 200 or less on a weekend initially. So the volume will be different, but yeah, the feel's going to be the same. Let me say this too about feel. When you walk into the building in Blairsville, we are planning to finish the building. All the finishes are going to look like they do here in Indiana. So we're going to use the same colors, the same carpets, the same tiles in Blairsville, so that when you walk in, you're going to know for sure you're in a different building. You're not going to think you've been transported to Indiana, but you're going to walk in, it's going to feel very comfortable. And so think about restaurants you've been in, that you go in a restaurant that you've been in another town, and the layout might be a little different, but it still feels like that same restaurant. And so we want you to walk in and know you're in Summit Church because of the way it feels and what you see. So, any other questions online? None right now? No questions from the room? If you don't mind, come on up to the mic. Thank you, sir. It should be. Yep, you're good.
Yeah. Okay, so we looked at a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
And how are we going to handle the resources to do the renovations and all the remodeling and everything? Are we going to get some kind of loans, or do we have money in reserve to do that?
That is an awesome question. I'm excited to actually answer that question. And for just a second, I thought you were going to make up a word, renovations. I thought you were going to say for a second. And
I was really stuck on the pavilion out back because I knew someone was going to say something about the meadows.
Oh, there you go. And honestly, I might actually use the word renovations just because I think it sounds awesome. So that is a wonderful question. And one of the things, and this is what I would tell you guys, those of you that are watching online, those of you that are in the room, there's going to be 3 things we ask people to do. We're going to ask you to pray, we're going to ask you to give, and we're going to ask you to go. So for those of you that live in or near Blairsville especially, who have relationships there, we're going to ask you to give us a year in Blairsville. So even if you say, I love Summit in Indiana, I never want to leave, I'm going to ask you to be a missionary for us to Blairsville for at least 1 year. Give us 1 year in Blairsville and help us build that. Invite your friends, invite your family. And some of you will want to come back. And after a year, great, come back. But some of you are going to get down there and you're going to love it because you're going to see some of your friends and family get saved. You're going to invite people to church and they're going to come alive and you're going to go, nope, this is where we're supposed to be. So we're going to ask you to give a year. We're going to ask you to pray. Just pray. Pray for Blairsville. Pray for us. Pray for the churches in Blairsville. And the other thing that you mentioned, John, is give. We are asking you to give. Now, I'm going to be 100% transparent with you guys, which part of me is like, no, don't do that. But I'm going to be. Our financial position is fantastic right now. And we're working with S&T Bank. They're our bank that we work with right now. We could get a line of credit with them for $250,000, and we will probably go ahead and get that because just because we have it doesn't mean we need to use it. But I'm going to be really honest with you guys. We've got over $250,000 in undesignated savings in our account right now. So that means we could do whatever we wanted to with it, but it's sitting in our account for rainy days for us to just have margin. We've also got over 140, what's the number, Tracy? 145, 6? About 146,000 in our Blairsville account. It's going to cost us about $250,000 to reno the building, to demo and reno and get it where we want it. It's going to take us about another 100 to outfit it, to get equipment, furniture, things like that for the building. So we're going to be at about 350,000. So if you're, and let me say this as well. Again, we're giving you the nitty gritty tonight. Right now, because, and over the last few years, what we've been doing is paying ourselves every week. So the way we've built up our savings is we've been paying ourselves as if it's a bill, just throwing money in savings every week. And that amount goes up every week. So we give a little more every month. We're edging that up. Same thing with Blairsville. We started putting money in our Blairsville account. And so if we're going to be honest, the amount of money that we have spent on Blairsville, not a whole lot of it has come from people in the church. A lot of it has come from money we've just set aside. So we could build the whole thing between what we're setting aside between now and the end of the year and what we've already got. We could dip into our savings about $100,000 and pay for everything and be done and never ask for a dime from the church. We could do that, but I'm not going to do that. And I sound like a money-grubbing pastor when I say that. I don't want to dip into our savings $100,000 or $150,000. I would much rather leave a good margin there, so if another opportunity comes up where we can buy a building somewhere for $50,000, we can go, yep, we're going to go buy a building for $50,000. God's opening up a door for us. And so what we're asking the church to do is just pray about helping us raise $100,000 between now and the end of the year so that we don't have to dip into savings, so that we can do it all debt-free, cash-free. How incredible would it be, guys, if when we open the church day one, we could say we owe nothing to anybody for this building. It is totally debt-free. So that's our hope. That was a really long answer, John. Does that answer your question for you? Okay. Yeah, great question. I appreciate you asking that. What else? Any online questions, guys? They've grown silent. Good. Any other questions, guys? Anybody? I will, let me answer one more question that nobody has asked in this room or online yet. One of the things we talked about when we launched this and talked about it back in the fall, I mentioned this, and a couple people have asked me about it. I mentioned at the time that we are planting a church, and someday that church will not be Summit anymore. And I had a few people who went, whoa, I don't want to go to a church that's not Summit. And so let me explain it to you. Every church that launches another church, even if they're the same, if it's multi-site, at some point it's no longer multi-site. A lot of times it stops being multi-site because of trauma. So what happens is there's leadership changes, or the leader of this location and the leader of this location get sideways, and there ends up being a split. And so what I want to do is I want to start something with the end in mind. If we know at some point this church is not going to be part of Summit, I want to start with the end in mind and say, how can we build in some things to make sure we transition in a healthy way? And so we don't have a timeline set on when it's not going to be Summit anymore. We know what that might look like to some degree, but it's in the distance. It's not going to be in the next 3 years. It's more like in the next 7 years. So it's going to be down the road, and it's something that we would talk about as a church. It was something that we would be talking to you guys about, those of you that are in Blairsville and part of that location. We would not just show up one day and go, hey, just want to let you know you're not part of Summit anymore. That's not how it's going to work. And let me explain it to you this way. I was having this conversation with somebody, and they told me, they said, I don't want to be at a church that's not the Summit Church. And I said, well, think about it this way. And this person had a daughter. And I said, with your daughter, do you love your daughter? Yeah, absolutely. And this lady has a grown daughter. And I said, do you love your daughter less than you did when she was in your house? No. And I said, but when she was younger, you paid for her stuff. Right? You took care of her. She lived off of you. She had your name, all these things. But as your daughter got older, she got married. She started living off of somebody else, right? She started earning her own income. She started supporting herself, and she changed her name. But that doesn't change her relationship to you. You still love her. She's still your daughter. You still care about her, right? And she said, yeah, absolutely. And this is the way I want us to look at this, guys. We are planting a church. We are parenting a church. We are blessing this community, and we are going to sow resources. We're going to sow people. There are people that are going to go to that location, and they're never going to come back to Summit Church. And honestly, the pastoral side of me, that makes me sad. But the side of me that thinks about the future of Blairsville gets so excited because Blairsville needs people like you to be down there leading the way spiritually. Blairsville needs people who are influencing and impacting. And so this is the thing. We've got a church that's going to be Summit. They're going to be part of our budget. We're going to help keep it alive and get it going. And at some point down the line, it's going to change its name. We're going to release them to govern themselves and lead themselves. And we're going to allow them to be in relationship with us if they would like to be. So if they want us to continue in relationship with us, we're going to allow that. We're going to want that. But they're always going to be our daughter. And when they start other churches, which is my dream, is that they will start some other churches, we're going to look on as proud grandparents and go, man, look at what we set into motion in our world. We're going to be so proud of that. So I just want you to think about it that way. We're not losing something. We're not giving something up. We're setting something into motion. So that's the way I want you guys to think about that. So again, guys, I just want to reiterate what I asked earlier when John asked the question. We're going to ask all of you watching online, all of you in the room, we're going to ask all of you to pray, to give, and to go. We're going to ask you to pray for this project, pray for Blairsville, pray for the businesses, pray for the churches. Let's just pray that Blairsville will flourish and God will be glorified. Let's pray that we will have positions of influence in that community to bless churches, to bless businesses, and to see Blairsville come alive like never before. Let's give. I'm not asking everybody to dip into your 401k or anything like that, but what I'm asking everybody to do is pray and just say, God, how would you have me give? Maybe God wants you to give a one-time gift, just a lump. Great. Maybe God says, no, I want you to give this amount every month or every week or whatever it is until the end of the year. That's fantastic. Whatever it is, just be obedient to what God's asking you to do. But I'm asking you to give. And the last thing is, go. If you live in that area, if you're down in that region, I would love for you to join our team. And so we're going to be talking to you more over the next few weeks about what that looks like. Those of you that are saying, yeah, I want to be part of the core team. Yeah, I want to lead the way. I want to be on a team down there. I want to influence. We're going to invite you to be part of that, and we're going to ask you, if you would, to make a one-year commitment and just say, from the time we launch, I'll give 1 year to Summit Church Blairsville. And I believe if you will go and you'll be committed down there, it's going to change that community. And guys, that's what this is about. I don't need to start another location so that I can brag to my friends. I don't need that. That stuff's stupid. What we need, though, is to start another church in Blairsville so we can help reach Blairsville for Jesus Christ. And again, it's going to cost us something, but nobody says, well, I don't want to have kids because it's going to cost me something. We understand when we have kids, when we start a family, it's going to be costly. It's going to cost us some stress, right? Or some peace of mind. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be work. It's going to cost us money. But at the end of the day, it's worth it because of what we are helping begin and set in motion. So if there aren't any other questions, we do have questions? Latecomers online. Yeah.
Megan from Facebook would like to know, is it officially called the Summit Blairsville for now?
Yeah, it will be. So we'll be Summit Church Blairsville. This location will be called Summit Church Indiana. That's what we will call it internally, and that will be our designation. So yeah, it'll be Summit Church Blairsville. SCB, I don't know, I hate that. So Summit Church Blairsville, yeah, that's what we're going to call it. So we're going to have to go through the borough to get approval for signage and things like that. But before long, you're going to start seeing some signage up announcing our arrival. And so yeah, you'll be seeing that soon. Yeah.
Hi, Mel.
Is this not an online question? This is your question?
No, this is actually my question.
Okay, go ahead, Julia.
Well, I'm sitting here and I'm hearing all the Hero Maker stuff come out. So this might be in advance, but I know you had to do research to pick a new location. So do you have an answer for what city might be on your radar next for a location? Or like who would be in second or third place?
Yes, yeah. That sounds sad to say a town is in second place. First runner-up to Blairsville is, so there are a number of towns on our radar. And I don't want to give anything away. Let me just tell you. Katanning, Elderton, Ebensburg, Clymer, all these are towns that we've thought we could put a location in there. So we are looking, I'm going to be really honest with you guys. We examined an opportunity in Johnstown. When was that, Craig? 6 months ago? Yeah, 6 or 8 months ago, there was an opportunity in Johnstown that came up that we looked long and hard at and really thought about starting something there. And it just wasn't going to work financially for us. We didn't feel at peace about starting something. So we are wide open. When God opens the door, and that's one of the reasons, John, we want to maintain good financial margin. So if something comes along, we don't want to miss a God opportunity because we've been stupid with our money. And so we want to take opportunities when they come along. So that's a great question though, Julia. I will tell you, I do have a town in mind that I'm like, but I'm not going to tell you guys yet. So, Graham, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if, that's so weird, I'm sorry. The relations with other churches, have you had communication? Are you expecting
Yeah.
a good thing? How we can kind of counterbalance ministries, balance strength and weakness, et cetera, if you could.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things the borough council asked is, what are your plans? And one of the things we just said is, hey, we have some things we could do, but we want to wait and see what's already being done in our community and then meet needs that aren't being met. And so we don't want to step on the toes of any other nonprofit in our community. We want to make sure that we're complementing that. And so yeah, we do want to work alongside the other ministries and the other nonprofits in town. And one of the things I didn't mention is there's enough space in the basement of the bank building that we purchased that we've thought about opening some, subdividing part of that for offices. So if there are nonprofits in Blairsville who needed an inexpensive office, we could rent out office space for $100 a month or something like that, just to bless them and help them. And so there's some things like that we've thought through and we're talking about. As far as the churches go, that's a mixed bag, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's just like it is here in Indiana. There are churches in Indiana we have an incredible relationship with. And then there are churches in Indiana that just aren't interested in having a relationship. And it's not that we have a bad relationship. It's just they're doing their thing, and that's fine. So it's the same thing in Blairsville. There are some churches that we're going to be able to work really well with and really easily with. I mean, and I'll be honest with you. The United Methodist Church in Blairsville, Pastor Mark Heckman he's fantastic. I love Pastor Mark. And he's going to be really easy for us to work with and to come alongside. So Pastor Mark, Pastor George at the Assemblies of God Church there, he's a wonderful man of God. I love him. Pastor J.P. Price from Mercy Hill Ministries, he's a guy that's been so welcoming to us and so open. Rusty McClurg, I think he just had his last Sunday as pastor. He's retiring, but Pastor Rusty has been a friend and he's been great. So there's a number of pastors in Blairsville that we've got good relationships with already, and I'm looking forward to cultivating more. So, is that it? Okay, I think that's it. Hey, I want us to just pray before we close out our time together. And some of the things I talked about, I just want you to agree with me in prayer for those areas of Blairsville. And last time we did this back in the fall, and this is something we'll be doing again, I had you write down, those of you that were here for our interest meeting, I had you write down a name on a card of someone that you wanted to see saved in Blairsville, that you want us to be praying for. And so I want you to know we're going to be doing that again because I'm believing that the seeds you're sowing in Blairsville are going to bring a harvest of souls. And that's what this is all about. So let's pray together as we close out our time. Then again, thank you for watching it online tonight. We're so grateful for that. And I would love for you to just agree with us in prayer right now. So Heavenly Father, I'm so grateful for the doors that you have opened. I'm grateful for what you're doing. I'm grateful that you invite us to partner with you. You don't need us, but you invite us to be a part. So God, thank you for that. Thank you for Blairsville, Pennsylvania. God, I thank you. For God so loved the world, for God so loved Blairsville, Pennsylvania, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever should believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Lord, let that be true in us. Lord, I pray that we would carry your gospel to Blairsville. I pray that people would know that you came for Blairsville, Pennsylvania. God, give us a heart and a desire for the people, for the town, so that we could be used for your purposes. So Lord, I pray right now that you would begin to minister in hearts. Lord, that there are people in Blairsville who don't go to church anywhere, that are totally lost without you. God, I pray that you would use us to meet them. Use us to facilitate relationship with you. God, I pray that you would help us have creative ideas, give us wisdom, how to impact that community, how to minister to needs, how to serve people so that you could be glorified. Lord, I pray that you would give us favor with the community, give us favor with the contractors, give us favor with the neighbors. And I pray that Lord, our ministry there would be an example of what it means to serve, what it means to bless. So God, I just pray that you would minister in the churches in that community. Lord, I pray that you would send people there like never before. I pray that you would help us facilitate a revival in Blairsville of people coming to know you and enter into relationship with you. So God, I pray that it wouldn't just be Summit, but God, let it be every church in that community would experience a move of your Spirit like never before. God, I pray for the people from our church that live in Blairsville and in that region. God, I pray that you give them supernatural favor with their friends and relatives and neighbors and loved ones, that God, they're going to be able to draw and bring, and not just bring them to church, but bring them to Christ. God, give us a heart for lost people in our lives, that we would be the ones who lead them to Jesus, that they may never even walk in the doors of the church, but God, you're going to give us opportunities to speak truth into their lives. Lord, I just pray you'd minister in and through us, God. I pray that we wouldn't do anything that's out of step with your will, but God, let us be careful to follow you and be obedient to everything you're asking us to do. God, thank you again for what you're doing, what you're going to do. We believe it's going to be incredible. We believe we're going to see you move like never before, and we believe Blairsville will be changed for eternity because of you. So thank you for inviting us into this. Thank you for what you're doing, and we praise you in advance for what you will do. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Hey guys, I love you more than you know. I'm so glad I get to be your pastor. God bless you. Have a great night. We'll see you this weekend. Those of you in the room, just want to let you know, if you're parked on the east side, you can head out these east doors. Just make sure you give each other space. And we just don't want people congregating in the lobbies. And if you're parked out the main doors, if somebody would, Graham, would you kick open those center doors? We're going to let you guys go out the main doors tonight. But on the weekend, we're going to have you go out the west. And if you're parked out the main doors, if somebody would, Graham, would you kick open those center doors? We're going to let you guys go out the main doors tonight. But on the weekend, we're going to have you go out the west.